Hello, my name is Lisa Porter, and I serve as an assistant professor of sociology at James Madison University. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you a project known as the Many Voices of Harrisonburg, as well as key individuals that helped make this happen. Let's start with introductions of our panel. This is Mr. Jim Hirschberger. Welcome, Jim.
Well, thank you.
He serves as the director of the Refugee Resettlement Office here in Harrisonburg, and he's been in Harrisonburg since 1979. Is that right?
That's right.
Ingrid Garcia de Lazo is with us today from JMU's Career Development Academy, where she works with adult immigrants learning English. And she's been here in Harrisonburg since 2010 from El Salvador.
Yes, that's right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to introduce Dr. Abdel Rabi, who is with us here today from also JMU's Career Development Academy. And he has been in Harrisonburg since 2000, and we're glad you're with us today.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce quickly the film that you are about to watch. It is a part of a larger project that was funded through the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities that focuses on the changing demographics of Virginia. The Virginia Foundation for the Humanities received an award, a sizable grant, to look at 6 sites within the state and their changing population. Harrisonburg was selected as one of those 6 sites. Although we are a city of just about 53,000 people, it's been recently reported that over 50 languages are represented in our city schools. So today we're here to talk about the film as well as the population here within Harrisonburg. Let's start with you, Jim. Jim, could you spend a little bit of time sharing with us some of the changing demographics that you've seen in your time in Harrisonburg? Why was Harrisonburg one of the 6 sites that VFH focused on in this project?
Sure. In terms of the refugee population, back in the 70s and 80s when we started, it was many people from Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and so forth. And in the 80s and 90s, it began to be more people from the former Soviet Union, Russia and Ukrainians, Baptists and Pentecostals who came as refugees. And then there were people from the former Yugoslavia, Bosnians, Croatians, and so forth, as that nation was breaking up. In the 90s, Kurdish, we began resettling Kurdish people from northern Iraq, and then later Arabic people from all over Iraq who had fled their country also as refugees. Since then, we've also begun resettling more and more Congolese people, Congolese who've been living in refugee camps in Rwanda and Tanzania and other adjoining countries. And also we've always been resettling Cubans along all of this, a few Cubans every year.
So Jim, for our viewers, can you help clarify what it means to be a refugee?
The technical definition has 3 components. One is that you have to have a credible fear of persecution because of your religious beliefs, your political beliefs, your ethnicity, the language you speak, and so forth. And the second aspect of it is that the persecution is so bad that you have actually fled your country. You've left your country and now you're in another country. And the third aspect of it, it's still not safe enough to go back home. There are other kinds of immigrants who come too. There are parolees, for instance, they're similar to refugees, but the processing doesn't occur in some other country. They're processed as parolees when they arrive at the border, and then there are asylees who enter as a tourist maybe or some other visa and then apply for asylee status because of the things that happened to them there. There are other kinds of visas too that one can enter on, work visas for a variety of positions that industry wants and so forth.
So why Harrisonburg? How did Harrisonburg become a site for refugee resettlement?
Well, Harrisonburg has resettled refugees specifically for about 30, 40 years. It has a low cost of living, low cost housing and food and so forth. It has really good employment possibilities, particularly for people who don't speak English as a first language, right? So there's a lot of food processing, there's a lot of other kinds of manufacturing and so forth that our clients, we're able to get jobs in with our clients. And this has been true for several decades in the country. It's also a very welcoming community. There are a lot of churches here who sponsor refugee families. There are volunteers from the universities, retired people, just a whole set of agencies and churches and so forth that are very interested in sponsoring refugees.
Well, we're going to see some of the families that your agency has assisted in the film that we're about to watch. So let's spend a second talking about the making of the film. This film that you're about to watch highlights 8 different stories of individuals and their families' journey to Harrisonburg. And it was largely comprised of volunteers that came together and formed a committee called the Many Voices of Harrisonburg and said, how do we want to use this money from Virginia Foundations for the Humanities to represent Harrisonburg, to really show what Harrisonburg and its multitude of languages and cultures look like. And so the committee decided on putting together this film. So what I'd like to do is ask Abdel to talk to us a little bit about this committee. Abdel, as well as Jim, sat on this committee, and it was comprised of over 18 agencies. We had representatives from agencies such as New Bridges Immigrant Resource Center, Skyline Literacy, Harrisonburg City Public Schools, JMU's Outreach and Engagement, of course, the Church World Services, the Refugee Resettlement Office here in Harrisonburg. The Comité Salvadoreno Paisanos Unidos was part of it, the Filipino American Community of Harrisonburg, and the list goes on and on and on. In addition to these agencies, we had multiple individuals representing various immigrant populations that also served on the committee. Abdel, can you talk to us about why you decided to sit on the Voices of Harrisonburg committee and join this project?
Really, basically, like any other minority in the community, would like to have exposure. Particularly the Muslims was under attack recently onto the media. So it was a good chance to be part of a good project. Will show the cultures of the Muslims in the community. And really, I have been doing this since 9/11. We went through the same cycle, but under different circumstances. The difference this time is really getting a lot of our community members involved in the project.
Thank you. Can you talk about thinking back as being a committee member and trying to represent the different voices of immigrants that you're mentioning as we selected those 8 individuals that we will see on this film? How did the committee go about doing that? What were some of the questions that they were thinking of? What were the criteria in determining, because we have multiple cultures obviously represented in Harrisonburg, how did we decide on the 8 that we did?
Actually, we asked all of the participants in the project to go back to their congregations or their community and think about who are the individuals they can represent. And I think we take several criteria. We wanted to actually represent the length, how immigrants have been to Harrisonburg, so the age was part of it, the ethnicity of the group, and in particular their stories, which are different from one to the other, but to give us a spectrum of the immigrant story when they come to the Harrisonburg.
I'm trying to think back about the film, and I know that we have individuals sharing their story from Palestine, from Kurdistan, from Cuba, from El Salvador, from the Ukraine, and from the Congo. But we also have 2 stories of individuals who have lived in this community for multiple generations, their family being here, going back, way back, either in Harrisonburg or Rockingham County, and I'm referencing Mr. May and Mrs. Allen. Why did the committee decide to include these 2 stories in a film about immigration?
We really looked at it that really the whole United States is the land of immigrants. And it will be unfair not to look at the story from the beginning. And Mr. May represented the early generation who comes to the city and settled in the city. I remember he said that it was toward the 1800, his family. And of course, the second was Mrs. Allen as well, which is in a period of slavery, and again, it was an immigrant. So immigration, it's a constant type of thing which is happening in the world, and it will never stop. And even recently, if you look at the workforce movement in the world, based on the economical situation, you find people moving from one country to the other. And Jim just mentioned the doctors from overseas. There is a need, so the people will start moving there. So it was this type of, I think, background which we thought that it will be important, so everybody would know it's not just when the Syrian comes or a group comes or the Italian. It's actually a constant, continual type of process for the immigrants to coming to this country.
Definitely broadens the conversation surrounding immigration and goes back to the comment of this country being made of immigrants and coming together and seeing that throughout history. So I appreciate that vantage point. So we've spent a little bit of time talking about the funding for this project, how it came to be, and a little bit about the committee and the enormous collaboration that was needed for it to come to be. Now let's spend a little bit of time talking about the participants, and that leads us to Ingrid and the role that she played in this project. Ingrid, I'd love for you to just spend a second talking about why you agreed to be a participant of this film.
I agreed to be part of this project because through my voice, maybe another people from my community could feel represented. They could feel reflected through my history, and then they may think to have the opportunity to get involved in this community also. Because sometimes we are afraid to tell our story because we think nobody will take care of that. But I saw that this kind of project gives the opportunity to express yourself and tell the people who you are, where you came from. So that is the part of what I accepted be part of this film.
Well, we're glad that you did.
Thank you.
You have a really unique perspective because you're sharing your story as an immigrant, but yet you're working every day with immigrants in your profession. So we appreciate both vantage points, and I'd love for you to spend a little bit of time talking about the role you play at JMU's Career Development Academy. And what are some of the issues that the immigrants coming into your office face, as well as how are their stories similar or different from yours?
My current role in the Career Development Academy has allowed me to work with immigrants, meet new people, and that is the best part because I can share ideas with them, and I can see there are not many differences. Maybe the culture and tradition, the language, but we share the same purposes. We want all to reach our goals. We want to find a job which match our skills. Everyone, we are full of dreams. And on that focuses the similarities. Maybe the difference could be depending on what everyone wants on life, depending on everyone's background. But if you see everyone in here as an immigrant, everyone, the only thing we want to do is reach our goals.
Thank you for that. Like you, a lot of the participants in the film focus on the opportunities and to reach those goals and talk about that experience here in Harrisonburg. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about the challenges that immigrants, particularly as they first arrive to this community, but even long after, might have. Adele, would you start? One of the things that I wanting to talk with you about it. We've mentioned your role at JMU and the multiple hats that you play, but you're also a leader at the Islamic Association for the Shenandoah Valley. And the association has members from multiple cultures, of multiple languages, communities and representatives that really show a very diverse community within and of itself. Can you talk about that a little bit? Can you talk about the diversity within the Islamic population in the Valley?
Most of the people comes here for economical reasons, and the difficulty is some of them are highly educated or overqualified, and they cannot find the correct job which they are looking for. And that's, hopefully this is my work with CDA, how we can find different paths for the immigrants to be able to be into the workforce in their field when they come here.
I think that Ingrid can relate to that as an attorney from El Salvador and trying to figure out how to utilize the skills and the trade that she was trained in when immigrating to the United States. Ingrid, I want to ask you a question similar to Abdel's question, which is if you could talk a little bit about the struggles that individuals who've immigrated to Harrisonburg from Mexico, Central America, and South America have had in terms of how there's a tendency to stereotype all Latinos from being from the same place, sharing the exact same culture. Can you talk a little bit about that stereotype? Yes. And the diversity within the Latino population in Harrisonburg?
Of course. The only thing we share is the Spanish language, but within that Latino community here in Harrisonburg, there are many diversity. I prefer identify myself from my country of origin because as a Salvadoran, I have my own custom, I have my own tradition, I have my own food, I have my own religion, and it's very different for another Latino. Mm-hmm. It's not the same.
Thanks for sharing that. Continuing on with challenges, Jim, I want to ask you, recently Harrisonburg has been designated as a friendly city.
That's right.
Can you talk a little bit about what that means, as well as what more could be done to make this a welcoming community?
Sure, yeah, the Welcoming America initiative that the City Council adopted will help with collaboration kinds of things. It's essentially a network of other cities and counties that have declared themselves Welcoming America initiative. And so it's a way of sharing best practices at the city and county level in terms of how to manage growth and how to manage budgets and hiring policies. I think it could lead to some opportunities for grant writing across in different agencies and so forth within the city and the locality here. So it's not like a pot of money that's been opened up, but it's more collaborative and can generate ideas and share best practices among cities, around cities. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to sort of ask a couple more questions if we can just before we start the film. And to do that, I want to say that the goal of this film and this committee, the Many Voices of Harrisonburg, has been to share these stories, to start a conversation. And this film will be hopefully aired in many of our public schools and many of the churches and congregations and organizations that want to continue the conversations that this film might spark. What impact do you hope this film has, Ingrid?
Well, I am pretty sure it will have a positive impact. Many people out there will see this story, and many of them could identify with any of the people on the film, and they maybe they want to be involved in that project and be part of that project. I am pretty sure it will have a positive impact.
Jim?
I think it's a good opportunity to share knowledge, to educate local school staff, students, parents, the populations in general about the changing demographics of Harrisonburg and who we are as Harrisonburg.
And Abdel, what impact do you think this film might have?
I think particularly for the younger generation, they will see sometimes even if they're facing difficulty, the people who came before them, and we see the examples of the African American example, the Palestinian example, everybody has difficulty. So for those generations should understand this is part of, and in the end, most of them succeeded. So for the kids in general, understanding the history, for the kids of the immigrants, that there are hope and their ancestor has succeeded and they will succeed as well.
Thank you. Well, my last question for all of you, beyond the film, what hopes or visions do you have for Harrisonburg that would continue to build on the idea of inclusivity and being a welcoming city? Jem, let's start with you.
You know, I'll say something about the refugee population in particular, because that's a part of the immigrant population here. Many refugees come here and they have fled violence and suffering and conflict. And sometimes, you know, in the broad spectrum of the conflicts that they left, there are other actors in that conflict. Mm-hmm. And so what we tell refugees when they come, one of the things we tell them is, you know, those conflicts that you had there, this is a different place. It's a different country. And so those conflicts that you had there, one of your challenges here is to maybe not forget them, but at least move beyond them so that we don't live in that conflict anymore. This is a new start, this is a new place, and it's a chance to have good relationships with a wide variety of people that you might not have had before, and some of whom, in fact, you might have had some conflicts before. Mm-hmm. It's a chance to make some peace and learn how to live with people in spite of the differences that we have. Mm-hmm. And in spite of the losses that you had.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Ingrid, what hopes do you have for this community to continue to build relations and inclusivity?
I can resume in 2 sentences. My vision is that Harrisonburg will be considered as an example for another cities. Mm-hmm. And my hopes that Harrisonburg continue being a welcome city for every immigrant. That is, I can tell you.
Thank you. Abdel, how about for you?
Really, I hoping for Harrisonburg to celebrate the diversity and the immigrants every day. We have 52 languages, at least 33 cultures maybe. If we have a permanent place every year, every week, maybe you can celebrate one of the cultures in the city. So it wouldn't be celebrated only once a year in the international festival, but we have a week for the people from El Salvador, 1 week for the people from Egypt, and it will be a permanent location and give an example for the other cities, how immigrants, how diverse, and how the conflict which they come from, Sunni and Shia and the Iranian and the Iraqi, are living together here. Right. So if we can come up maybe hopefully with another project to establish a permanent location for the city of Harrisonburg to be really a good model for the diversity. And particularly we have a university which actually encourages this type of diversity and the cultural diversity which we have.
Thank you. It's a wonderful vision. I want to thank the participants of this panel today and the time that they've spent with us. I'd also like to thank the committee members who spent several months putting this film that you're about to watch together. I'd like to thank the producers of this film as well as the funders, and I'd especially like to thank the 8 participants that shared their story with us that you're about to watch. If this film inspires you, we encourage you to get out into the community and continue to find ways to bridge the gap and to create an inclusive and welcoming city. If you're interested in sharing this film with other groups or constituencies, please feel free to find it on YouTube by simply typing in its title, The Many Voices of Harrisonburg. Thank you very much and enjoy the film.
Okay, my name is Doris Allen. I was born in Harrisonburg, Virginia, 1927. And I went to Lucy F. Sims School. First, I went to Effner Street School, where Miss Lucy Sims was my first grade teacher. We lived right across the street from the school, and I do remember the big snows we had. When winter was winter, it was winter. When summer came, it was summer. But nowadays, the time climate has changed so much that I don't know if we have spring, winter, and fall. But we had big snows. I mean, it could be 14, 20 inches of snow. And your parents dug out, and we go to school every day. We didn't have snow days. We just went to school. It was warmer at school than it was at home, because there was no furnaces in our homes. Our homes were they were a little inadequate, but we stayed warm. But again, it was warmer at school, and everybody was happy to go to school, and we stayed all day even till your parents came home. If it's 5 or 6 o'clock, no later than that, and that was a happy time, because when they dig out, well, it wasn't in their cars, and so very few. So they didn't have to worry about cars coming. They just make a path to the school. The colleges are plentiful now, and there wasn't much talk of a college when I was a little girl. The only black college, the closest college to Harrisonburg, was Virginia State College in Petersburg, which is 180 miles away. So it was a lot of segregation in those days, and Jim Crow was heavy. So we didn't attend white schools. We had our own colored school. I have a son here named Robert. Now, he and I went to Martin Luther King in '63 to I Had a Dream. And I was working at that time down at the Leggett Department Store on Main Street. And the boss said, if anybody goes to that I Had a Dream street, the March on Washington, he says they don't have to come to work the next day. Well, that was 1963. So, okay. I saw the ad in the paper. It was $3.50 round trip per person, and bring your lunch. So we were to meet this bus out on Maryland and High Street, I believe it was. And I determined I was going to go, and I asked my mother, would she keep my 2 children when they came from school, and I would take the 3rd one with me. And so I took my 12-year-old son, who was big and tall for 12 years old, and I said, Robert, we going? Well, he didn't know where we was going. He didn't know nothing about Martin Luther King. But, oh, boy, he knew he was going on a bus trip. He was going to ride the bus. And we got in Washington. We left 7 o'clock that morning from over there, and we got to D.C., and all these buses and all these horses. He was so excited because there were mounted policemen. And going down the trip was very, very nice. It was quiet because it was, like I say, it was segregation days, and we didn't communicate with white, and they didn't with us. But we knew our seat on the bus was in the rear, and we went straight back to the back after everybody else was seated, and we sit. And it was an enjoyable trip because I had him along, and we had somebody to converse with. But after we got to Washington, and all these people, and everybody was going toward the Lincoln Memorial, and SOE got off the bus, and everybody just moving just slowly, quietly, and it was amazing to me because I never saw that many people either. The first time I'd been to Washington. But I did like everybody else. One just followed the other one, and we just kept going. The stage was full of all these celebrities and everybody, and you didn't see Martin Luther King. And we got all the way up to the edge of the memorial, and you could see right up on the podium. And so it was a hot summer day, but we didn't care. And then finally Martin came out, and his speech was, it was awesome. You could not believe how happy it made everybody. And people were just orderly and humble, no problems. And we stayed till 5 o'clock and came home.
My name is Luis Alvarez Perez. I'm from Cuba. Toda la vida ha sido mi sueño llegar hasta este país. Ha sido muy difícil para mí porque la travesía fue bastante fuerte para mí y para todo el grupo que vino junto conmigo. Pasamos hambre, frío, maltrato, deportaciones, que habían personas que solamente estaban esperando la deportación porque, ¿cómo decirle? En la celda que estábamos varios compañeros, a veces nos levantaban a las 4 de la mañana y ya uno sabía que era una deportación y todo el mundo con miedo a que deportaran después de que habíamos pasado todo ese Centroamérica deportando para nuestro país. Mi entrenador siempre me decía también me decía, no te preocupes mucho por el pasado. Recuerda que el pasado es una historia. El futuro es una incógnita, no se sabe. Pero el hoy es un regalo, por eso se llama presente. Unas amistades me hablaron sobre Virginia, un buen estado, el cual es muy tranquilo, muy sociable. Me dirigí acá y me consiguieron donde quedarme actualmente. Aquí pues comencé mi documentación, la cual fue bastante rápida. Me llegó mi permiso de trabajo como a los 2 meses, más tardar. Me dirigí hacia la oficina de Cargill, la cual me dio trabajo fácilmente, en donde estoy actualmente. Soy un buen trabajador, uno de los mejores actualmente, solamente con 6 meses que tengo en el trabajo. No tengo ni siquiera una ausencia, una llegada tarde, nada. Me quiero mucho en mi trabajo, tengo good friends, many good friends. Harrisonburg y Dayton son 2 ciudades que tienen muchas opciones para todo migrante que viene acá. Y también te brinda oportunidades como la escuela que actualmente estoy en Starline. I love this school. It's very important for me. Allí conocí varias amistades que tengo en la escuela de diferentes países. Si yo voy al banco, yo estudio ese día qué tengo que decir en inglés, cómo puedo proyectarme. Y se me ha hecho más bien un poco fácil, porque ya cuando ya me dirijo, ejemplo, al cajero, ya cuando me preguntan algo ya yo tengo la respuesta. Soy licenciado en Cultura Física y Deporte, tengo la maestría ya en mi deporte, estudié medicina en mi país, tuve que dejar la carrera en 2º año, llevaba 2 carreras al mismo tiempo. En mi vida desde pequeño mis padres me inculcaron que el estudio vale mucho. Mi abuelo siempre me decía que el que puede más, vale más, sabe más. Y es muy importante. Y para mí lo ha sido, porque toda la vida para mí ha sido una escuela. Realmente yo estoy acá y yo quiero visitar Asia, yo quiero visitar China. Adoro ese país, quisiera ir, porque quisiera realmente, mi sueño es llegar al templo Shaolin, visitar el templo Shaolin, donde estudiaron las artes marciales. Ese es mi sueño. Bueno, quisiera visitar Europa. Tengo amistades en Alemania, tengo amistades en España y quisiera, pero ¿cómo puedo llegar allá? Primeramente, este es el primer paso. Mis sueños acá en este país es lograr una mejor pronunciación en inglés. Es lo que más deseo en estos momentos. Aprender bien el idioma para poder integrarme más a la sociedad, porque es muy importante eso más que nada para mí. I am happy because I love the country.
My name is Olga Kotze and I'm from Ukraine. I came to Harrisonburg in 2008, in November. My grandparents came to United States in 1991 because it's a persecution for Christianity. Like from my husband's side, his grandparent stayed in jail 14 years because they was Christian. So how the first Ukrainian people came here, it's before was very hard to grow up in Ukraine and to be Christian. So when I came, it was okay in Ukraine, and now it's I feel like Ukraine is Christian country now, but like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was very hard for Christian people. When we moved, the president of Ukraine was Viktor Yushchenko. I think he was the best president. And at that time, I didn't want to move to the United States because it just was like dream happened in Ukraine. We thought he would change everything, but he stayed just like for 2 years. I don't remember, but for a short time. Mm-hmm. So now I'm glad that I'm here. I came with my husband, my daughter, my mother, and my youngest sister. So we was happy to see all my family. I have 4 aunts in here and 1 uncle. The first we came to airport to New York. So it's just like big city, everything light, the road very clean, and I don't know, the road perfect, doesn't have holes and like Ukrainian had. So it was the first, it's very surprised me. When we came to Harrisonburg, it's very hard to start everything, like without English skills, it's very hard to start. But I'm very thankful to, I think it's Community Mennonite Church. They teach us for free. And the teacher, Mr. Ray, he is very nice. He teacher like from God. People try to help you. When you came, it's not just, you're not alone. Like people, if you need help, church help is like with food and English classes, and they make a party for us, and everyone bring their traditional food. The people was very, very kind and very good. So it's what I remember the first time when it was very hard. A lot of people try to help you.
Unfortunately, when I tell my story, it starts with the war and in Palestine. So the Jews and the British were outside the wall of Jerusalem, and the Arabs on the top of and the battle was going on. But they took my mother to the hospital, and they have to go through the battlefield. So they raised white flag, and it stopped, and the bus went through and got to the hospital. And here I am, back in 1958, came to the United States. I went to Chicago. I got acceptance from university there and went for a semester. However, I didn't like it. So I moved to Connecticut. And I studied engineering, finished my bachelor's degree in engineering. And it was the best thing happened to me. Then I worked for defense. The company was making turbine engine for helicopters. My boss there asked me to go in business with him. So I did, and we bought this business called UMA Incorporated it was located on Long Island in New York. In 1978, we looked to get out from New York, and we chose Harrisonburg in Virginia with the help of the Chamber of Commerce in Richmond. We came here and settled here, Harrisonburg City. They invite us, me with my family, to dinner. I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but they took us to the restaurant, and Harrisonburg City paid the bill. I have later on a daughter who born in Harrisonburg. The rest of the family. And that's the daughter taking care of the business now, and she is doing very good job. You know, I remember one of the things when we moved here, no Arabic family and no Muslim people here either. So I was the family to settle, but I was very well received as a Muslim. And I start getting invitation from the churches to speak. I was happy, and the people with respect and helpful and very kind to me and to my family. Back in the 80s, there is Muslim people came to the area too, and we start our own organization, Islamic organization. We start praying in a church, and they provide us with all the hospitality and respect, and open school in that church. It is the Presbyterian Church on 42. They were very good hosts. Then we moved to build our own mosque, which is now located on Country Club Road in Harrisonburg. Now the community become, even the mosque is not big enough to accommodate us. We moved from number one family in 1978. I think we count over 300 or 350 350 families over that now in Harrisonburg and the area.
My name is Everett Made Jr. and I live in Rockingham County in Burton, Virginia, and I've lived here all my life. My family immigrated here probably in 1800s. They set up the homesteads around here, and they lived off of the land, and everything was self-sufficient in this community. They did not have all the retail stores and all those things. They had to rely on their own resources. This particular land was inhabited here by our family about 1850. It's been farmed continuously every day since this time, and we have now the 8th generation on this land. My grandchildren now are the 8th generation. I believe that the weather is a little more volatile now. I think it changes more quickly, and I've noticed the streams, they don't hold up quite as well as they used to in my boyhood days. They go a little lower in the summertime especially. Our community was all people that settled here, stayed here, and now our community has turned into a retirement community from places like D.C., Richmond area. Us locals calls them weekenders. But there's a lot of retirements here in the area now that wasn't before. From people that from outside of the area. They've lived their life and their career in a city, and now they've came back to the country to enjoy a slower pace. I think it shows that it's a good area for people to live in. It has proven to be self-sustaining area. We think it's the best place for a family to be established and for the basics that you would need to teach your children. We like the climate here. We have the mountains that protect us from really severe storms, and we think it's an ideal place. The best place in the United States, in fact.
My name is Ingrid Garcia. I am from El Salvador, Central America. I came here by my husband on July 27, 2010. He applied for my residency, and now I got my citizenship. So it was a big process because I have to learn the 100 questions, At the beginning, it was kind of hard because when I first came in here, and the language was very hard because I didn't speak English when I came, because in my country I focused on learning my attorney degree, so I didn't have time to go to learn English over there. But when I came in here, I found that I must sign for English classes to be part of this community, to be able to communicate with others. So I signed for ESL classes in here, in this same place I am working now, a school for ESL classes, since September 2010 until August 2013. After that, they offered me to help in the office, just helping, volunteer. But after 2 months, they hired me. And then now I am part of the JMU community also. I belong to a group to help Hispanic community, trying to get them information about how the laws are in here, what they need to do in order to get a job that match their skill. So because when I came, somebody told me you need to take the GED, but I knew that it's not a good information, because if I did have my attorney degree, I didn't need the GED part. So that is the reason I would like to help others, to give the accurate information in order to save time in the process. If I revalidate my profession in here, I can tell the people, you can do it. If I did, you can do it. And I show them how to do it, because I will have the proof that it is possible. If you can dream, you can reach that dream. I feel so happy being here in Harrisonburg, because this is a friendly city. I like the small cities, not the big ones, because they are too noisy and too crowded. And in here, you can live with your family, grow up the kids, and just trying to have a relaxing life.
My name is Pistonar. I'm from Kurdistan, northern of Iraq. I came to United States of America in 1996. I was in Kurdistan working with an American organization called KLA, Kurdish Live Aid, as a security guard. And then we had trouble with Saddam Hussein, as always. And then the U.S. government decided to bring all the employees with those organizations to USA, who were 6,000 Kurdish employees, came to the island of Guam. I heard about Virginia tobacco, but at the same time I heard from one person talking about how beautiful Virginia, and we were some relatives, part of my, some of them were my cousins, so we thought Virginia probably a state where we want to go, especially it was close to Washington D.C. and it's a big name in our country, so we thought it's a place we want to go. When we saw the beautiful of the mountains, that the jobs that were available here, the schools, the community, made us to come to this city, and it's beautiful, and still we enjoy it every day. We feel this is our home. I am a supervisor at the dining service at JMU. I love cook, and I like to be involved with people and serving people, And this is something that I am planning to stay there until I get retired. I love the food. I like the students at JMU. They are really, it's a really great place to work. It was very hard at the beginning because I did not have education at all in my country, but when I came here, then I started to gain some English knowledge. I started ESL at the beginning levels and then finished the advanced level. Then after that, I went to Dayton Learning Center and finished my GED, General Education Development. And at the same time, I was working full-time, and I had to support my family in my country. And then after that, I had to go to college and ask my wife if she wanted to continue her education or she wanted me to go to college, because one of us had to quit the job to take care of washing the kids while we are studying. So it seems that my wife encouraged me to continue in education, so I went to Blue Ridge Community College working on my computer science, and I got my associate degree in 3 years. It took me 3 years. Then after that, we took a little trip to our country, Kurdistan, and then came back, start at JMU to work on my bachelor degree. So I pretty much finished 100 credit on my bachelor. Then unfortunately my wife diagnosed with lupus disease, so it was very difficult for me to continue studying, working part-time and focusing on my wife. So I had to take a pause, and I did, and increased my work hours and watching my family, watching my wife. I thought that I would return to school, but that's the thing that I'm regretting, that I couldn't go back because of the work or because of my family. So, but in general, everything is great. I'm happy. I'm happy that I have 4 beautiful daughters. My dream is to see my kids take this great opportunity they have in this country that we did not have in our country, to get a decent education. And so far so good. They are studying hard. They are having great grades. I'm hoping and praying that all my kids get good degrees, maybe master, PhD degrees, accomplish what their parents couldn't accomplish because of the opportunity that we did not have. My kids, 3 of them are in high school. 1 is graduating this year and going to JMU, accepted already. So the other one is in middle school. So in general, we are good and successful. Thank God for that. And we could accomplish this with the help of the community, with the good friends that I have, with the mosque members that they encouraged us, and we cooperated together, built the mosque, did a lot of cooperation between each other, finding jobs for each other. So we are a really great community here in Harrisonburg.
Yeah, my name is Sharon, and I'm from Congo. I came in 2013 because of war in my country. Yeah, and my husband came first because he was the one who was targeted, and he came here by himself. He left us in Africa, in Congo, with my children. Yeah, and I had to go to my mom village, and there was a big war who make us like run in Kenya. Yeah, and after going in Kenya, I get my visa too, and I came here. I came in Harrisonburg, the first place I came here in Harrisonburg because my husband was here. I was happy because people here, welcomed me. I did not know any English, and even if I was a little bit nervous speaking to people, but people was nice and welcoming. Because of my barrier of language, I couldn't do anything. I was like helping my like people from my community doing their hair. It was like a volunteering, but some people like gave me some gift after doing their hair. And my husband told me that I should take like English classes so that I can be able to communicate with others. It was a little bit hard for me because it's really hard to speak a language, a new language. But now when I managed to learn English a little bit, even if it's still broken, but at least I can communicate with others. And I also managed to go to DMV and get my driver's license. And I finally get a job. Yeah, I'm working to Pleasant View. And yeah, and I'm also a student at Blue Ridge. I continue to take my classes. For me, coming here in America, it was like success because in my country I could not sleep well because of insecurity. But here I can sleep and wake up in peace. Yeah, that's the big difference. Now I'm here. I'm facing struggle too, but it's not comparable. I think Harrisonburg is a good place. Without stress to raise children. I hope that my family will be reunited because I have my 2 children who stay in Africa. I hope that they can come so that our financial can be like stable because these days it's hard for us. Even if you can have work, paying rent over there, paying here, food and everything doubly, it's hard for us. I hope that I can be like in a level that I will not feel that I'm a stranger like immigrant because I still feel like my life is really low financially and emotionally. I hope that one day I will feel that I'm really in a perfect level. I don't know.